I'm looking up at the clock. It is 7 o'clock.
Recording in progress.
Looking at the clock, 7 o'clock. We are at the Police Commission, Wednesday, May 10th, 2023. In-person regular meeting at 7. Watertown Town Hall, Town Council Chamber, 61 Echo Lake Road, Watertown, Connecticut. Next thing, I'd like to do a roll call, and we will start down the end.
Ron Russ.
Robert McCarthy.
Richard Antonetti.
Jamie Lambo.
Carmine Verno.
I'd like to appoint for Rich Rossi, I'd like to appoint Ron Russ as a regular member. Okay?
Right.
And Dave Genetti is coming in, he says, a little late, and he'll be arriving sometime during the meeting. And if not, until that time, I would also like to appoint as a regular member Carmine Verno. He will be a regular member until Dave arrives.
Thank you, Chair.
Right. Next thing on the agenda is public participation. We have a mic at the table here. Come forward and turn on the little light if you are here to make a statement. Anyone here to make any statements? Please state your name and address. There's a button that a little light will go on near the end.
There we go. Got it. Catherine Camera, 31 Cottage Place. Just for your information, there's no agenda on the website, so I don't know if that's something that's required. Usually, I don't know what the notice for having a notice, so you don't have one. It says April 12th is the last one that's seen there on the, so I have no idea what the agenda is for tonight. So I just wanted you to know that, because I don't know if that's something that has to be posted in order for your meeting. I'm not sure of the rules on
That
that.
is something the town hall does. My agendas go in about a week before the meeting.
Correct. I just don't know if it has to be done or your meeting's not, I don't know the rules on that. Just letting you know.
I will mention it.
So I'm going to talk about something that happened almost a year ago, just because it was the June 2022 meeting. But then meetings they were here and they were very busy, and I never got to comment on this. So at that particular meeting, our state rep, Joe Paletta, came to the meeting, to be honest with you. I can't remember what he had come there for, talking about something. But then, Mr. Chairman, you brought up with Mr. Paletta gun control, which obviously is not something that you handle in this as your commission, but the conversation came up. And there was something that really struck me that Mr. Paletta said as they were talking about guns. He said, well, nobody in this room, we don't have to worry about anybody in this room. And that's not true. Because our former chairman committed murder and murder-suicide. And at the meetings that I used to attend, I used to see his gun strapped to his ankle. Not only here, but he was also on EDC. So to say that nobody in this room, we don't have to worry about it, you have to worry about everybody. Absolutely everybody. Anybody with a gun, it doesn't matter. What disturbed me about that is that because of his position in town, it was sad, tragic, which it was, I don't begrudge that, but no one used the term murder-suicide. But had it been somebody else in our community, it would definitely have been called murder-suicide. So, this whole gun thing, I'm bringing this up because it's not something you normally talk about in the commission, but it came up, and it was talked about. And I found it really struck me, but there's no opportunity to comment after what was said at that meeting, because that's something that really has stayed with me, that I was in the presence of this man at many of these these meetings, as a chairman, at other meetings, and yet, look what happened. And I do understand there was some circumstances there, health circumstances, but It's kind of frightening. And not that you need to know this, but right now, I have a neighbor who likes to let me know he has a gun, and he talks to when his kid was 5, he was talking about guns with his son. And then this weekend, the kid's about 8 now, I'm out mowing my lawn, and he's up there shooting this fake gun pointing right at me. And I'm like, wow, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen 5 years from now. Daddy's got his own real guns. It's really weird. So anyway, I've always wanted to comment on that. It was a strange evening. It was a strange conversation, and it left me feeling a little odd when I left the meeting. But if it comes up again, please keep in mind that's not true. Anybody in any room, anywhere, is capable of murder. Thank you.
Could you hold for a minute? Just a question.
Yes.
Did you say the person was firing the gun?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
When you were cutting the lawn, you said,
Oh, I'm sorry. He's an 8-year-old, and he had a toy gun. Yes,
Oh.
and but he had it right pointed at me and was firing his gun,
Oh,
and I
just-
was like, it was a little weird, to be honest with you. Most children don't point blank at their neighbor do that, but
thank you.
anyway.
Any other comments? Any other comments? Any other comments? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next matter on the agenda. Is the approval of the April 12th, 2023 meeting. We'll need a motion.
So moved.
Seconded.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, we can move on. Motion passes. Correspondence. We have a late correspondence. Chief, do you think we should read that into the record? I do. You do? Yes. Okay.
This correspondence is from Jennifer Murphy on Neal Drive, and it reads, "Good afternoon, Chief Berniger. Thank you for bringing up the discussion of a new obstruction of view and safety issue which is occurring on Neal Drive at tonight's meeting. My most sincere apologies to the Commission that I cannot be in attendance this evening due to a family commitment at our child's school. The safety issue is this. Over the past 6 months, the family directly across the street from our property has created a serious obstruction of view to both auto and foot traffic in the area. The household has begun parking 2 vehicles in front of their home on a daily basis. Quite often, at least one of the vehicles does not get moved for anywhere from 4 to 6 days at a time. Some may ask why this has never been an issue prior. It's never been an issue for 25 years that we have resided here. That same family has also resided across from us, and they have never utilized the road for any parking at all. I'm sure that Google Maps on any given date over the 25 years plus can clearly confirm this never being an obstruction due to the small area not ever being utilized for parking. By allowing vehicles to park in this small stretch of road, I have personally witnessed many close calls over the past months. My home office overlooks this stretch of road, and I see clearly all of the near misses on a daily basis. Our comprehensive home security system has recorded months' worth of footage and pictures clearly showing this is a safety concern for all of the school-aged children heading to and from the multiple bus stops at this intersection, the pedestrians who walk, run, and walk their dogs daily throughout our beautiful development, and the drivers trying to maneuver through the area of Eastwood Hall and Neal Drive. Additionally, this intersection and its crest of hill has seen a significant influx of vehicles recently, with many drivers diverting Guernseytown to access Route 6 towards Woodbury, and thus avoiding the Taft end of Guernseytown and eliminating the Penny Lane stretch of Route 6. This has only increased the dangerous number of near misses in the area. When vehicles are heading towards Route 6 on Neal Drive, they must now maneuver around these parked vehicles and into the oncoming traffic lane. Due to the short stretch of road and the small distance between the crest of hill and the intersection where these newly parked cars are located, drivers aren't able to correct their vehicles back into the proper lane until they are already heading down the hill into oncoming traffic. Daily, the school buses, refuse trucks, landscapers with trailers, UPS, FedEx, etc., are all locking up their brakes before hitting an oncoming driver because they continue to find themselves on the wrong side of the road as other drivers are coming up the hill. For those drivers who are coming uphill on Neal Drive and wishing to turn right onto Eastwood Hall, they are being faced with many vehicles coming head-on, and they are only turning right, which should be safe in a typical traffic pattern. I would like to request that a no parking from here to corner or similar be installed on both sides of the road in this very small stretch, thus eliminating any street parking for only 2 properties, of which one is my own. That would restore this intersection and crest of hill area to the safe travel it's always been for 25+ years. It should be noted that due to the small road where this is an issue, the change would only affect our household and one other. The other household, however, is the creator of this dangerous obstruction of view. It would have no impact on street parking for any other residents due to the size of the neighborhood and the spacing of the homes. The area being so small and the fact that there are many options for people to park safely, street parking for entertainment, functions, or get-togethers should simplify things. I realize that this area is not a main thoroughway and that many others in town may be, but we do still have a substantial amount of traffic here. There's a group home on Neal Drive, which has staff passing through daily with shift changes, along with many buses and business vehicles tending to the typical daily household needs found in a large residential development. Our area contains many children who ride bikes, play basketball, and just need to safely go from their homes to their bus stop. The pedestrian traffic alone in front of our home is quite significant in a development of this nature. It has become a dangerous situation with multiple children and vehicles almost being hit recently due to the new parking obstruction. Making it even worse is the sun glare that hits the 2 homes on the odd number side of the street at the top of Eastwood Hall. The home to its right is where the street parking is occurring, and the darkness where the street parking is occurring at night, there are no lights to illuminate. I'd like to thank you and the commission in advance for your time and researching the best possible solution to eliminate this dangerous obstruction in our populated neighborhood. We are always taught the old standard, if you see something, say something. So I'm speaking up proactively before anyone in my own family or any other were to get hurt or injured, when this issue can be easily remedied or eradicated. I've attached a few video clips and lots of pictures above in an attachment to this email for you. Best regards, Jennifer Murphy, Neal Drive.
Did she give a house number?
She did not.
So I can go, well, it's Eastwood Hall Drive, it's near there.
Yeah, Neal Drive at Eastwood Hall.
Murphy.
The intersection of Neal Drive at Eastwood Hall.
Chief, I know you've had the correspondence a while. Have you looked into any of the matters of this particular situation?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have driven by that particular location probably 3 or 4 times now in the last 2 months as this complaint has been unfolding. It's stemming from a neighbor dispute between these 2 properties who are on opposite sides of the road from one another. The residents from one side of the road have started, probably back around November, parking their vehicles out in the road exactly opposite of the complainant's driveway, causing an annoyance and restricting the roadway width for them to get in and out of their own driveway. It is not illegal where they're parking currently. There is no parking restrictions on Neal Drive. It is a tertiary residential neighborhood road that is unmarked. There's no traffic markings on the road at all. There's no center line. It is not uncommon in neighborhoods for cars to park on the side of the road, and generally you kind of have to weave around them in neighborhoods. As far as Connecticut general statutes are concerned with parking, it does prohibit parking on anywhere near the crest of a grade where the sight line dips below 150 feet without actually doing a sight line survey up at that location. I would be unable to advise the commission whether we meet that threshold or not. But that would be, that would be the number you would be looking at really in order to consider whether or not to restrict parking for any portion of that roadway. My recommendation would be to have the regional accident investigation team be tasked with doing a sightline survey in that area. They, with their instruments, would be able to tell exactly as you travel that portion what the actual sight line is as you go up that grade and approach the grade from the top. And I can bring that information back within a month or two to the commission.
Thank you, Chief. I think we, at this particular time, can't really make a decision until we get that information for sight distance.
Yeah, and I believe that would also have to be properly posted, that the commission would, discussion and possible action regarding parking on Neal Drive in the
Right.
area of Eastwood Hall, and that the neighbors that it would be directly affecting should be noticed as well.
Thank you. I think a motion is in order for the commission to consider.
I'd like to make a motion to do a sightline study at the intersection of Eastwood Hall and Neal Drive.
Second it.
Motion has been made and seconded. I think that would be appropriate. And once that is done, we will have some information as to sight distance. And in the meantime, we can move ahead. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, the motion is carried. So you will move forward on that, Chief?
I will.
Thank you. Okay. New business, a discussion concerning the new police department, and location is a big part of the discussion. I asked the chief to run off material, which you all have, and I decided on a rainy day to go back into my files, and as you can see, we go back to 2020, this issue is out there. And from other information, you got there 2020 February, 2020 March, and you got also other studies were done. And the first one you have is space need assessment, and the chief presented this to the council. I believe it was at a budget hearing, Chief, when you did this before the council, the first PowerPoint.
The very first, if you do look at your packets here, I believe you have 5 different documents here. The top document entitled Space Needs Assessment is a document I created back in 2019 and addressed the town council probably about the fall of 2019. It's a September, October, November area of 2019, just to bring to attention to town council the difficulties that we were experiencing with our current facilities. I know that the chairman didn't want to go through the entire document here, and it's for you to go through, but this has a lot of pictures of all the different rooms and spaces in the police department, and the difficulties we're having with those spaces. It explains the growth that we've experienced, not only in the size of our agency, but in as policing is professionalized over the past 40 years, many other assignments, such as professional standards, records has expanded, support services. We have a lot more reporting requirements to the FBI and to the state police. And all of these tasks require space in the building to handle. And there's several officer safety concerns in the building. One is the Sally Port, which is our only garage space. The problem with that is we have no place to put any large evidence. Sometimes we take a vehicle as evidence. If we have a fatal accident, that vehicle can actually be evidence. We can't just put it out in our impound lot until we get a search warrant and are able to examine that vehicle properly. And so in the meantime, it sits in our Sally Port, which means we can no longer use the Sally Port to bring prisoners in and out of our detention area. So that becomes a safety concern, not only for our officers, but for prisoner escape, et cetera. That's just one example. Another example is our muster room. You're all familiar with the one large room we have in the building. It's a very operational room, but it serves as roll call. It serves as our report writing room. It serves as our training room. It serves several different functions has many other rooms that empty into it, including all of our locker rooms, our carport area, our detention area, the patrol sergeants, the patrol commander, our entire HVAC and electrical room are annexed off of that room, so there's a lot of traffic flow in and out of it. So using it for things like a citizens police academy, or for youth academies and for actual in-house training is difficult because of all the interruptions that it causes for not only the class that's happening because of the traffic flow in that room, but also for operations at the police department where officers can't come in and do reports and do the work that they need to do when we're utilizing that room for a different function other than operations. So those are just a couple of highlights of the difficulties we have with our space, and they're all detailed in this document.
I think the reason why I brought it up and had you print out the several issues that are concerning a new police department and the problems that exist in our current department is that we get some sort of action moving. This presentation that you gave was 2019. Here we are in 2023, and I do realize in that interim, COVID was a problem, and maybe people were about maybe just staying alive. But if you look at that first presentation, it is in detail where there are serious problems with the existing police station. Tonight, what I'm going to ask is every member of the commission is to go through the documents. Priority on one, the presentation that the chief did, and next that we consider an issue that is paramount is where will this new station be? I think as you look at it, you will find that there are real serious problems with the existing station. And the issue that comes up constantly is where will this new station be located? That is also in there too. So it's a homework assignment, you know. We like to give teachers like to give homework assignments. I ask every member, maybe over the time, look and read, maybe jot down some questions, and the chief is here, and then ultimately we can move, maybe referring to the council, and I'd say this is the end product. Where will this new station be built? For sure, it cannot be built on the existing site. Some new information, the chief mentioned that a second floor is not feasible at the existing site because of what factor, chief?
Yeah, so the town hired an architectural firm, Chikunski Humes Architects out of Berlin, to do a site survey in town, and they looked at two specific sites, one our current site at 195 French Street and the other being the Nova Scotia Hill Road site between Buckingham and Veterans Park, which are obviously both town-owned sites, the only two town-owned sites which were viable to put a public safety building that weren't in flood zones, et cetera. The preferred site from the very beginning was our current site, 195 French Street. It's a 18-acre parcel, plenty of room there to expand, put a building. My initial thought was let's build a new building behind our building. And while when it's finished, we can move in and then tear down the building in front. We'd have plenty of parking. Sounded like a great idea. In the end, once the architect analyzed the property, the cost factor to utilize that property would have been exorbitant. The amount of ledge that would have had to have been blasted out to make it a buildable parcel was significant. There's a current sewer line that bisects the entire property that would have to be fully relocated in order to utilize the property. And the vast majority of the property is actually wetlands on the maps. So getting permits through Inland Wetlands Commission would have been very difficult. The only current buildable part of that property is where our building is currently located. And we are already have significant parking restrictions for even the size building that's there now. So expanding the square footage on the same footprint that we have now, there would be nowhere to actually add any parking without significantly blasting out part of that property, getting permits through inlands and wetlands for variances, and relocating that sewer line. All very expensive propositions, and that's besides the fact that we would have to move out of that building during construction and relocate to temporary quarters, including moving our entire communications center. You put all those factors together, the costs are simply outweigh any benefit of trying to stay on that property. The current building is not built to current public safety code, as far as the depth of the footings in the ground, et cetera. So, the current building would be a complete tear down to even reutilize that spot. You couldn't simply put another story on top of the building that's there.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
As you can see, there is a lot of problems, and I think it's incumbent upon the commission to become aware of the problems and try to move the project forward. As I say, back in 2019, here we are, 2023, and it was a good rainy day that I pulled this out and I said, let's see where we are. And right now, I get a sense that you're probably looking at bonding issues of maybe 3 or 4 more years than if we go into bonding. I think that we have to be creative. We did get from our current state congresswoman help dealing with our communication system, which was, I guess, close to $2.5 million. The congresswoman also got some money for downtown in order to move that project forward. The RSA, which has been on the books since 2016 or 17, and we've got to see some movement. I don't think we just can wait and wait and wait until there is a serious problem here at the old police station. And if you read the notes that are in there, the problems, I think you would agree that we have to get on the stick and try to get the ball rolling. So homework, see you back next month.
Through the chair, can I ask the chief a couple questions?
Sure, we're going to get to that in a
Okay.
minute,
I
okay?
didn't mean to jump. Oh.
Okay, thank you. No, you'll have that chance. Anybody? But I think we have to have some direction. May, June, we'll have a chance to sit down. You will have a lot of information. Yes, it will raise a lot of questions, and that's the whole purpose. We want to have a big discussion and hopefully to the end of getting movement on a new police station. Commissioner Verno?
Thank you, through the chair. Chief, I just have a couple questions. I'm sure that all these documents will answer it. I was just wondering if you can just answer. Is the French Street, the current location, being considered to be used or no?
So that was part of the site assessment. One of the documents you'll see in here is the site assessment for the Watertown Police Department.
Yes.
In that 195 French Street site is extensively discussed
Yes.
in this document. So it was considered. The architect is rejecting that site.
Yeah, because I saw in the new one that it's no longer in there. So it's not even a consideration anymore?
The architect has taken it out of consideration. He said to consider it if the town ever wanted to move on that, even if it were possible with the wetlands, Inland Wetland Commission, that the costs would be exorbitant.
Would exceed if it moved to Nova Scotia.
It would be well above
Yes.
building at Nova Scotia.
And is the Nova Scotia the only alternate site being considered?
It is at this time. Those were the only 2 sites actually considered because we only asked the architect to look at town-owned property to avoid acquisition costs.
Okay, and where exactly, I'm not familiar, I know where Veterans Park is. Where exactly on Nova Scotia is it?
So the entire parcel straddles between Buckingham Street and Veterans Park.
Oh, okay.
It's almost a 25-acre parcel.
Oh, wow.
That straddles that entire area there.
And I'm assuming that if it does move, the new communication system's going to go with it?
The communication system is transportable. That can go in any
Okay.
building.
That's what I figured. I know, dumb question.
90% of the communication system is
Is outside.
around town and
Okay.
not confined to a
Okay.
building.
Well, I have just one more question. This is probably a dumb question, but has the money been secured for it yet, or
No,
no? Because we don't
no.
even know what it would cost.
Right, not even, so, just to brief the commission, and this should answer your question, Commissioner, and the process that's involved here. There are 4 stages prior to a referendum for a new building. The first is the actual space needs. That document is included in your packet here. The second step is doing a site survey, and that's what we were just discussing. The third is doing a schematic design. The fourth is doing a professional cost estimate. We got funding from town council back in 2019 to perform the space needs and the site survey for the police station alone. And you have those 2 documents here. After these were presented and after COVID was finally over, town council then wanted to explore the idea of doing a joint building project, not just the police department, but to also build a community center together as a single bonded project. And then tasked the architect to do a space needs for a community center and to do a new site assessment combining the police department and the community center, proposed community center, all on the Nova Scotia Hill parcel. And that document you have in your binder looks like this one. And that discusses the feasibility of putting both buildings on that single parcel. That's currently where the project stands right now. This was presented to town council back in, it says March of 2022 on here, but I could have sworn it was June of 2022, I think, when the actual presentation was made to town council. And there was no vote by town council yet to select that parcel as the
Right,
preferred site.
Any feedback at all?
I don't believe there was. I think it was presented,
Yeah.
and everything got put on hold at that point.
Okay.
So for the architect to move forward now with any type of schematic design or cost estimate requires an affirmative vote by the town council to say this is the parcel that we're going to build on, because design and cost are very much tied to the land it's going to be constructed on.
And have you seen the Nova Scotia parcel?
Only by
No.
driving
But
driving
what you've
around it.
heard, you think it's appropriate and applicable?
For a police station?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes? Okay.
yeah.
Just
yeah.
curious.
I mean, we love the site we're at, don't get me wrong. That was my initial desire, was to stay at 195 French Street. You know, once the architect determined it really wasn't feasible to expand on that piece of property. Nova Scotia Hill is an attractive parcel. Although it may be slightly further away from the downtown Oakville area, and maybe even slightly further away from the downtown Watertown area, access to both areas is, you have Buckingham Street, and you can go straight down Nova Scotia Hill onto Route 6, and you're right there. So, and we're deployed. We're not like a fire station where we're deploying from a building.
Right.
You know, we're already out in town patrolling. So location of a police department is not as geographically important as a fire station.
I appreciate you answering. I know everything is in there. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from members of the
I
commission?
have a question. The size of the building that we would need right now, has anything been drawn up or figured out?
So
We
that-
had a 11,000 square foot building now. How big a building would we need to do everything for the police department?
The space needs study concluded that to house an agency our size and to allow for 20 years of growth, that the total square footage should be 25,330.
So we need that size building for a footprint to fit on a piece of parcel to accommodate everything else.
Or even, more cost effective is to do a multi-story building. It doesn't take up, it would take up half the footprint, half the concrete, and going up is a lot cheaper than going out.
I always had a thought, being where the police department is, there's residences on both sides of the police department. Has any consideration ever thought to try to buy that person's property and use that to expand the police department?
No consideration was given to that, no.
I just thought it'd be a good idea to venture. As I go around town, I don't see a whole lot of opportunity with parcels available to put a police department. It would be a good idea. That's why I came
Yeah,
up with,
even
maybe
purchasing, even if we had residents, willing to sell, the problem is we have actual wetlands on the map that straddle our building on both sides of the property. So
Wetlands?
we're still back to dealing with that issue. If you look at the front of the police department, there's a stream
Yep.
that comes down from the left side of the department, goes right through our front yard and then under the driveway. And then we have the entire right, if you're looking from the street at our parcel, the entire area to the right, that's all wetlands that comes down off that hill and drains from that side under our driveway. And under our driveway, there's a culvert that goes under French Street and down to Steel Brook.
Wow.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? I feel that once you get reading and looking at the current and the future, you will have, I'm sure, questions at our next meeting. I'd like to move ahead on the agenda, and the agenda is under old business, Police Department budget. Chief, I think you got some good news on the budget side.
Yes, good news. As you may have heard at the public hearing a couple of weeks ago, the public spoke nearly unanimously requesting the council reinstate the $200,000 to the municipal budget and the $800,000 to the Board of Ed that they had taken away prior to going to referendum. The town council did vote affirmatively to reinstate that entire money back into the budget, which will be going to referendum on May 23rd. That reinstatement of the $200,000 gives us our second officer back in the budget. So if the referendum does pass, we would be looking to hire 2 additional entry-level patrol officers, which would bring our authorized sworn force to 42 officers.
Thank you, Chief. The next issue is an update on the plate readers, speed readers. How are we doing there?
So of our 4 speed readers, again, 1 is still inoperable. We're still waiting on an insurance claim to get that speed reader fixed, which was taken out in a motor vehicle accident. The current 3 locations, we have one on the bottom of Nova Scotia Hill Road near Route 6, as we've had complaints of speeding traffic coming off of Route 6 onto Nova Scotia Hill because it's just a straight shot. So we're trying to slow the traffic down getting onto Nova Scotia Hill Road. We also received complaints from people who live up on Honey Hill Road off of Linkfield. So we have a speed reader up there currently, and we do still have one on Middlebury Road.
The next matter is dealing with the Killoran Wheeler Farm Road that we were discussing probably at the, doing something more with a stencil, putting not only the stopping bar, but also prior to this stopping bar, on the road stop. I was talking with Commissioner Janetti, and he said maybe put stop ahead, but bring it back a little more, rather than at the stopping bar. Put it down as maybe give them forewarning that there is a stop sign. And I thought that was an excellent suggestion. Commissioners, would you like to discuss that? We did vote to put in the stopping bar, and I did discuss with the chief purchasing a stopping, just a plain stop to put on the road, but you said the Public Works has the stencil, so there's no cost there, and I'm sure they could provide stop ahead. Commissioners, open to discussion.
I think it's a very good idea.
I have a great idea from my experience in a different town where they use the speed humps and speed bumps. On a stop sign, you put a speed bump, a 10-mile-an-hour speed bump, so that when you come up to the stop sign, you got to stop and get over that thing anyway. So that's gonna make you stop. Because putting up a stop sign, I've spent 13 years on the police commission with Jack Carroll. And stop signs don't mean anything, you're gonna stop people, so they won't do it. Put a speed bump in there, and it's gonna take their car and tear it apart, they'll start stopping. It's a serious ordeal, but between Danbury and Bethel, the residents on that street is a shortcut from one town to the other. And the people go through there about 45, 50 miles an hour. Even though it's a little windy, they put in 2 speed humps. And I got the speed hump right in front of my son's house. So we sit there and we watch the cars go through. Some a little quicker, some a little slower, but it's a detention. It makes them slow down. So if you would want to suggest something of that nature.
I think we talked about it at one time, and I don't think we can put them on that road, is that correct?
So, well, first off, there's obviously a cost factor of installing any type of speed tables or speed humps or speed bumps. It would be very dependent on Public Works for that work, of which they don't have a budget for that work either. So this would be something that would have to be planned out and probably properly budgeted for, probably a year in advance prior to any type of installation. But I would caution the commission on ever making a decision on placements of speed tables, speed humps, and speed bumps without first approving some type of traffic calming policy that very specifically provides criteria for what type of roadway in our community would even be eligible based on traffic volume, based on the type of road, the construction of the road. There are a lot of factors go in because, as you well know, put a speed bump on one road, we're going to have a room full of residents here wanting speed bumps on their road. And without a guiding document saying what roads would even be eligible, would make these decisions difficult.
Thank you, Chief. The idea is a good idea, but I think in our chest of things that we can use, we first should try the method that Janetti is saying. Let's put stop ahead. We have the bar that's there also, and we have a stop sign, which has been wrapped, the red tape around the pole. And let's see what kind of feedback we get from the crossroads. See if they're happy. And of course, the last thing in any situation is enforcement. We have pushed for more enforcement, more tickets to be given out if people run those stop signs. And the chief has now brought up the fact, cost. Let's first wait and see what we have as far as developments from trying various ways to curb people running the stop sign. Any comments? Okay. All right, we can move on then on the agenda. The next thing is Chairman's report, and at this time I have none.
Pardon me?
No
No report, it says none.
The next is the chief's monthly report, which you did get in your mailing. Any questions to the chief?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes,
I know motor vehicle stops doubled from 72 to 155.
That is a result of our distracted driving grant campaign that we ran over the past month.
Right, I thought so, yeah, good.
any other questions? Any other questions? Hearing none? We can move on to your
I can,
report.
I'll read my report into the
Yes.
record if you'd like, Mr. Chairman. The Watertown Police Department will be dedicating a monument to all canines who have served the town of Watertown, past and present. The formal dedication ceremony will be held on Thursday, June 8th at 1 p.m. at the front of police headquarters. In the event of inclement weather, we'll do a rain date of Friday, June 9th at 1 p.m. All commissioners are certainly invited to attend. Master Sergeant Todd Robinson will be retiring from the force at the end of May after honorably serving the community for 30 years. And we wish him well in his retirement. Officer Ray Torres was promoted to the rank of sergeant this past Thursday, and he will be taking Master Sergeant Robinson's place. The Watertown Police Department welcomed Officer Michael Wolfson to the force this past Monday. Officer Wolfson is a certified police officer, having served on the Hartford Police Department for the previous 5 years. And just to reiterate, the cost savings to this community when we're able to take on a certified police officer is significant. We save about 7 to 8 months of salary, and by hiring a certified officer. And that's all their time in the police academy and a significant additional time on field training. So hiring a certified officer reduces the training time from about 10 over 11 months down to about a month and a half. So it's fairly significant. It is very significant. Plus you're gaining all that experience right from the start as well. So we do our best to try to attract candidates from other agencies or who may be retiring from another agency and ready to continue their career, or who are just looking for a change of venue. I already mentioned that the town council voted to reinstate the second officer in the budget. And lastly, in collaboration with the Board of Education, we're happy to say that the DARE program will be starting up again in the fall. We'll be moving it from 5th grade to 6th grade. So it will take place at Swift. It's a revised national curriculum through the DARE program. Our school resource officer at Swift, Officer Donston, is a certified instructor and will be instructing the course for 6th grade classes at Swift.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions to the chief? Okay. Chief, there was one other thing that I felt was needed, and you said maybe possibly if members of the commission want to visit a newer facility, that possibly could be arranged in the future. I don't know if any would be interested. I did go when we first started back 2016 or 17, whatever, and visited Bethel, and it was a beautiful, beautiful facility. So I would recommend that if you would like it, and the chief could set up a time for a visit. Is there any members that would be interested?
I would go.
Yeah, I would go. Yeah, it depends on where it's gonna be at, you know.
Yep. The chief will give some dates. And I think if you have not toured our old facility,
We should do that also, huh?
he should do that also.
Right.
I think it's almost criminal, the kind of holding places we have in our old station. And when you see the holding places they have, I think it's the type of justice.
Through the
for
chair.
prisoners. Yes.
Chief, I just want to say in regards to the visiting the sites, whatever you need for us to expedite as inexpensively as possible, that we can help you, you let us know.
Well, if you can find us about $20 million, Commissioner, that's about what we need.
I know, it's going to be a large, huge undertaking, but I think it's important. So any way we can help you get it done as quick as possible, as cheap as possible, you let us know.
Appreciate it. And just a remark on the building. The delay here has nothing to do with a lack of support at any level of government in this community. You know, we have a lot of support on town council for this project. It's really coming down to timing for bonding and debt service. So we're just kind of in that holding pattern.
And whatever we can do to assist you.
Terrific.
Right. Any other comments? Any other comments? Hearing none, a motion is in order.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second? Second. And all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes unanimously.
Seven.
Thank you, everyone.